Hello and welcome to Mental Health Matters with me, Dr. Audrey Tang.
And me, Judith Crozier.
And we have special guest brain coach Iaia Colella in with us today. So welcome to Mental Health Matters. Great to have you back on set.
It's lovely to be back.
We are talking about brain training because this is your area of expertise, but also we want to think about whether it's actually just for elite athletes. Because this is something that I know, this is what we talked about last time, and we talked about it in the context of sport because that's your area of focus. But I think we can all benefit from a little bit of, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
What sort of things could we or should we be doing every day, maybe?
Well, we can talk, we can have a little exercise at the end.
Oh, okay. So there's little things that can improve our thinking.
Yeah.
And if we were to do brain training regularly, because you know you get these apps and things, what does it do in there?
So the brain is the same, even if like an elite athlete or a professional or student or something. So the brain works in the same way for everyone.
Yeah.
So for me, brain training is understand how your brain works and how to use it properly to unlock like a full potential. In the sport field is about performing at your best when it matters most. For a professional is performing in your career. For a student is about like studying and doing exams. So it's definitely understanding how your brain works and how to use it to achieve the goals that you have.
This is a really cheeky question. But do you ever look at someone and go, you're not using the full potential of your brain?
That's it. Most of the time there are so many like mental limits that we have, right? And when I discovered this like brain training, all the training that I've done, that was my like motivation, like understand what can I do with my brain to achieve, like go beyond some like the average or some mental limits that I created on my own in my past. So that was my motivation to discover how I can do it. I can use it even if I'm not an athlete. So
I like this, and this is it's one of those things that's kind of challenging.
Yes.
You know, can I use my brain even more so?
Yeah.
But do you think, Jude, there's every point where you just kind of go, do you know what? I don't care if I'm not using it all. It's fine.
Sometimes, yeah, because I think sometimes, I mean, I'm an overthinker. You know,
that's a nice one.
Yeah, and sometimes I wish I could just switch my brain off, you know, and not use it. And I find that impossible to do that. So actually, that might be quite interesting to know if we can use it to tone our brain down, because mine's like a washing machine on fast spin all of the time.
So what happens when someone's like that?
Yeah. So I don't think we can definitely turn off our brain.
It keeps us alive.
Like dial it down maybe.
But we can manage like that in terms of overthinking.
Yeah.
When we say overthinking, it's just so many thoughts that are running in the
Yes.
same time in
Yes.
our head, right?
Yeah.
So there are so many strategies that we can use, even like the journal that we spoke during last time.
Yeah.
There is an exercise that it's very useful if sometimes we want to slow down a little bit. Just the time that you have to take to write down, it requires effort, and it helps you to slow down a little bit. So there are so many strategies in that case that
well, that's good. You can kind of get strategies to do both ways then. Yeah.
Which is nice, and that really brings us on to our first question with what do elite athletes know about brain training that I'm missing, you know? What is it that they're able to do that I could be doing, or maybe I can't, maybe I need to learn to do it, and then it needs to become a habit?
I think that what athletes understand compared to most people is the influence that your brain and your mindset have on your result. I think because it's easy for them, because we see a performance. So in a sport, in physical performance, you can actually see what's happening there. So something that maybe sometimes in our career, in our relationship, we cannot like see in the same way. So definitely that's something that they can recognize, and in a positive and a negative way. So especially when the performance doesn't fit the expectation, doesn't match the expectation, in that case they can understand because it's something that they physically trained a lot.
Yes.
So when during a competition they don't have that standard that they have in training, in that case they understand that, okay, it's a mental limit or it's a challenge that is coming from my brain. So this is the first thing that I think that is important to understand. Like, we talk about mindset, well-being, mental health a lot, also on social media, but I don't think that we really understand what does mean that your mind shapes your results and your reality, because it's actually like this. As an athlete can change completely their performance, we can do it the same thing with our life, our results.
Yeah.
And you said something really interesting there. When an athlete does it, it's often because they have achieved that or as close to that in practice. So if they suddenly push it just with a bit of adrenaline, that's normal to them. But otherwise, I will sit there and go, oh, why didn't I swim 10K when actually I've swum 1K? And the gap between expectation and reality is huge for me. And I think we do need to get that athletes, people actors they've rehearsed, they've practiced, they've put the effort in. So when they say there is a mental block here, that's true. For us, I don't know whether it is. It might just be a practice block.
Yeah.
You just didn't do enough. So with that, is peak performance really about training harder or is it about training smarter?
Definitely training smarter. And definitely. But I don't want to take for granted this, because I think it's such an important question, because I still meet so many athletes, students or professionals who believe that to achieve more they need to do more or do it harder. That is true, but it depends. So if I give you an image, if you try to open like a jar and turn the lid in the wrong way, I mean, you can try harder, you can push more and get frustrated, but it will never open, right?
Yeah.
But as soon you turn the lid in the other side, it opens easily. And performance for me works at the same. If you're not achieving your goals, if you're not achieving the result that you want or that you know you can achieve, it's because something is missing, something is wrong. I mean, we need to change something. It doesn't make sense training harder or doing the same thing just more and harder. There is something that we need to change. So for me, peak performance is a state and something that you can achieve when mind and body are very connected and working together. And the way that I train my athletes is very structured, because you have to follow a plan, like a training, a proper training, and it's not just doing more, put a lot of effort also, but especially have a strategy and understand what is work for you, what is work for your brain, and match that things with the goals that you have.
Yeah, it sounds very logical, when you say it like that. I suppose doing it isn't always so easy, but that's why you're there to kind of guide them on their way.
Because I think just based on that, a lot of people think if I just keep doing it again and again and again, I will get better at it. It's like, no, I think you've got to do other things as well, and that will come differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So top athletes, obviously if things go wrong, they've got to be able to recover like that, whereas we might just sit on the floor and go, oh no, they can't do that.
Crying.
Yeah, exactly. But so for example, you were talking about the skater earlier. So the skater that, who missed a jump, how is he going to not sit there and go, oh no, I've done it all wrong? How's he just going to be able to snap like that, just get on with it and do the rest of the routine?
The other jumps.
Exactly.
Because for me, if you miss one, I will stop. I'm not an athlete, but you then go, oh no, I've messed that one up. I may just give it all up.
I'll miss all the
I'll miss all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Watching the Olympics, I noticed so many of these patterns. It was really interesting. I actually have an example of the positive one, and the skater is like in a negative
Okay.
way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the free ski champion,
yes.
Gu,
Yeah.
that girl, I think, is a very example of what does mean to train your brain and use it to perform and to win at that level. So during the selection, she basically crashed at the first trial, and in the first second, so the score was very, very low. And then just after a few minutes, she had to do the second attempt. And during the second one, she did her personal best. So even after that huge mistake that it can cost like the medal, in the second one she basically reset at all. And she talked about this during an interview, saying that she found airflow again in order to perform during the second attempt. And well, in the brain, in the moment when you make a mistake, your amygdala, so it's like the alarm that we have in the brain, fires. So start to release cortisol, and when we have a lot of cortisol in our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that is the part that can like make good decisions and work, like the thinking brain, start to become less available. So performing with that level of cortisol is not useful for the performance. And she definitely trained that. She definitely trained the ability to calm down, to reset the nervous system, to be able to perform.
Wow.
Like almost forgetting the mistake
Yes.
and just do it again. And thanks for that, she got a medal with just basically one good jump.
Amazing.
It was a huge result, and it's something different from the skaters. That in that case, it's a shame. But looking at the final and the selection, the performance was totally different. Everyone bet on his winning, but in the moment, the pressure and the expectation, and he choked basically, even if physically he was very, very prepared for that. I mean, he was really young, but at the same time, also at a high level, we can find these mental challenges sometimes, and the pressure that can game against us.
That's so interesting. So talking about pressure then, what does that do to the brain? And even if you're really highly trained, how can that affect the brain?
So as I said, it's not something that no one is immune to the pressure. It's not something that we can eliminate. What we can do is train our brain to respond to in a certain way. So in a way that is useful to don't choke and be able to perform even under the pressure. And more than a psychological thing, I think that is more biological. So it's a biological response of your brain. As I said, the amygdala just send your body in alert mode, and with the cortisol, the adrenaline into your body, your prefrontal cortex. There is an interesting metaphor from a book of David Rock that talk about the prefrontal cortex as a stage in a small theater.
Okay.
And the informations are the actors on the stage. So on this stage is where we have the attention during the day or during a performance. So the actors can be information from the outside world or the inner world, so thoughts, emotion. And it's a small stage, so your prefrontal cortex cannot handle so many information at the same time. Okay, in that moment when pressure hits, on that stage there are negative thoughts, fear, so all that actors that are not good for your performance. So be able to manage the moment, to direct like the stage is what we can learn with brain training, with the techniques that allow to calm down your nervous system, balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. So it's trainable, but it is there. Nobody is immune to the pressure
It's a great analogy.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just before we go to a break, I wanted to ask about this idea of training, because I know what I do is a very cognitive thing of, all right, I'm just not going to think about that. There's nothing I can do, so park it. And I tell those actors to get off the stage. It's quite an active thing. But I know other people, breathing or sort of nervous system work, that makes the difference. Is one healthier than the other, or are they all part of managing?
I think there are different strategies, and for someone can work better like self-talk exercise, for someone else can work better the breath exercise. When we talk about breathing, that's something that is connected with your physical body. So if we try to talk with ourselves, it's useful and is a practice, but at the same time is not like a real things that connect your nervous system with your body. Breath exercise is powerful for that reason. It's like a bridge between nervous system and body. Yes,
so it's you actually do know it when you're sort of using the self-talk. It's a feeling. This is a really fascinating conversation. We are going to come back after a clip of last time Iaia was on the show.
And this is something that I always ask to my athlete, like, why do you do it? And most of the time, the answer is because I want to represent my country. And I think that when you choose that kind of responsibility, pressure naturally grows.
Huge, isn't it?
So
because the country can be quite mean.
Yes, well,
as well.
They're quick to support, but they're equally quick to put down.
Yeah. So it's a huge pressure, and what I do is I help athletes build brain skills that allow them to perform freely even under that pressure that most of the time is enormous. So I like to say that I train their brain at the same level that they do with their body.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We are talking about brain training and whether we as lay people can do the same as elite athletes, and brain coach Iaia believes that we can. There are things that we can do to use more of our brain, which we're not doing at the moment. Now let's get a little bit psychological in it here. What happens in the brain when we try to break old patterns, like doubt, like procrastination, the things that we've maybe habitually done, and we even call ourselves a procrastinator?
So that's a big question.
It is, yes.
And so imagine the old pattern lives in the brain as like a neural highways.
Yes.
Okay? They are fast, they are efficient, and like your brain loves them because they save energy. And the part of the brain that is responsible of this thing is the basal ganglia. This part of the brain basically wants to make everything more efficient. So try to make patterns, routines, habits automatic to save more energy. Because every time that we use the prefrontal cortex, it requires more energy because it's a thinking part of the brain. With the basal ganglia, we create something that is automatic, more like an habit or a pattern. And that's brilliant when it's something that works for like tasks like brushing your teeth or driving from work to home. But it's brutal when that thing is with a self-doubt or a negative thoughts, a negative self-belief, because it works in the same way, right? But it's different if it's
different outcomes,
or believing that you're not good enough. Right? So it's quite brutal. But what happened? That every time that we try to break that old pattern, imagine that every time that we cross a field, so if you cross a field one time, you barely live a market. If you cross it 100 times, you can see a visible path. If you cross it 1,000 times, you created you have created a deep groove. That is our patterns in the brain. It's like this. So every time that we try to break the patterns. We basically want to create a new path.
Yeah.
And we need to put effort in that because your brain wants to just follow the easy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that is like you repeat it for a long time.
Yeah.
So if we want to create a new pathway, we need to put a little bit of effort and use our prefrontal cortex to consciously choosing something different.
Yes.
So it's a bit hard, but at the same time it's a trainable skill. That's why we say that your brain wired by repetition.
Yes.
Because it's how you create an habit, how you create a positive or a negative behavior that you use.
So on that, are there some beliefs or habits or behaviours that are easier to create new patterns for than others? Are they commonplace? So something like procrastination, is that going to be difficult for everybody, or is it maybe for that person it's procrastination, for another person it might be attention seeking, for another person it might be overgiving or something like that?
It's there are some habits hardest to break. The hardest to break are the ones that are tied to a strong emotional rewards. If we think about like scrolling or smoking, habits or sometimes can become an addiction. In that case, that kind of habits are something that create dopamine, like a very fast dopamine hits in the brain. So it's easy for the brain to remember that pleasure. And easy to do it. Then it becomes an addiction. But at the same time is trainable, so we can change any addiction or something. Some require more time, more effort. Procrastination though is an interesting one. Before to talk about specifically about procrastination, I think that the main mistake, the common mistake that people do when try to break an habit is attaching the habit, the behavior to the identity.
Yes.
I am a procrastinator.
Yes.
I am a smoker.
Yes. So now I can't be that because that's taking my identity away, not my way of thinking away. Yes.
If we think that characteristic is part of us, it's very difficult for your brain to think that you can change that.
That makes sense.
Because if you think that you are an overthinker, you will never try to change that thing.
Because
right?
it's you.
So the first rule for every habit, every behavior, negative behavior that we want to change is start to detach yourself from that behavior. It's a behavior. I'm not a procrastinator. I procrastinate. I often procrastinate. I do sometimes these things. That's the first step. If you start to realize there is a behavior that is outside of your person, then your brain can start working on the actual, delete the habit and change it with another one. So for procrastination specifically, after that you detach from that identity, an interesting thing is commit to an action that you used to procrastinate for at least 120 seconds, for 2 minutes. Because it's like a very short time. Your brain will not fight with you to say, okay, come on, it's 2 minutes. You can do it for 2 minutes. Okay, so it's just a trick for your mind. And once that you are doing that action for 2 minutes, you will probably
carry on.
Because you are in the momentum. So that's an interesting trick for
great trick. I love that. To do something different for 2 minutes, because that's just enough time for the brain to kind of go, oh, this is new, before it starts kicking into why we're doing this.
That's a really good idea. And it's similar to if you're really worried about going somewhere or being, going into a social situation. If you tell yourself, I'm just going to go for half an hour, and then you end up staying 3 hours. It's a similar sort of thing. That's really interesting, isn't it? Exactly. So what happens if somebody manages to kind of follow that and kind of get over that, but then they slip back into old habits? What then?
But then what happened?
Yep.
So it's a very common thing, because talking about, like, remember the deep groove that we talk about, that old pattern are still there. Every time that you create a new one, it doesn't like eliminate the old one. They are still there. What we do is create a new one and choosing, like, and working, training to build a stronger enough new pathway that can replace the old one. But it's common that sometimes, especially when we are tired, when we are stressed, when we are hungry, every time that we are in a different emotional state from like a normal base, fell into the old one, because it's a defensive mode of the brain. So trying to saving energy, and if the new pathway are not strong enough, your brain will always try to follow the cheapest route in terms of energy. But it's common. It's not a failure. It's not like a mistake. It can happen. In that case, when it happens with my athletes, the first suggestion is, as soon as possible, just go back to the new one, and try to reinforce more and more that pathway. Try to work again and again and again on that groove, and just keep going with that. With no judgment. We are human, so we can fall sometimes.
Exactly.
I think the whole analogy of pathways, and almost thinking the way that your brain's set up is like the motorway, and then all these other things and new pathways, it makes so much sense to understand it, because when I'm tired, I'm going to take the motorway. It's faster, it's quicker, I'm going to get home sooner, even though the other pathway may be really pretty and I like doing it and so on. But you're absolutely right. Once you've done that, you can tell yourself, remember, the other way's pretty, it's nice, and then you do get used to doing it again. But I think that metaphor really helps me kind of understand what's going on, because the motorway hasn't closed. You've just created a different route.
That's a really good way of thinking about it. So what happens in the brain when somebody goes into overwhelm, and can you get yourself out of that as well?
Using the metaphor, I think that's quite good to explain the situation. Every time that we feel overwhelmed, it's because our prefrontal cortex trying to focus and pay attention on so many things at the same time. But as we said, the stage is very small. So your brain cannot focus on so many things at the same time. And in that case, it becomes hard to prioritize, to make good decision, because it's not a good moment for your prefrontal cortex, so it is less available. And in that case, it's the same thing. If your prefrontal cortex is less available, it means that a system like limbic system, amygdala, and the treat response of your brain is working instead of the prefrontal cortex. And in that case, every decision, every problem that you want to solve in that moment, you're not using the good part of your brain, just the good part. So it's my advice in that case is try to recognize when you are in that state where you're not in a good state to make decision to solve problem, because it's the first step. If you understand when you are in a good state to make the right decision, it's good. And then it's useful also is an exercise. Recognize what are the little cues to say, okay, when that happen, I know that I'm start feeling overwhelmed, so I can just take a step back, and before it's too late.
It's the bit before, isn't it? Because if we go back to the motorway versus the new route that we've gone on, it's not actually at the point you're on the motorway or the new route. It's actually before that. It's the decision of, oh, I'm really fed up, I need to get home quickly. That's the moment you need to catch yourself before you then go the easy way. But that's hard, because it almost triggers a whole, I guess, when your prefrontal cortex is flooded with cortisol. It triggers all kinds of instinctual actions, and then you want to just get rid of, finish it all quickly. So that is hard. That is hard. How do you teach someone to catch that?
It's literally a training thing. So try to stay in your mind.
Yes.
And be able to recognize every time that you are making a decision in a wrong situation, or every time that you notice that you have the negative thoughts. Training the ability to recognize, to spot the thoughts is the first thing. Once that you start to understand what are your patterns, then you start to make a different decision, start to build the new highway.
Yeah, gosh, there's so much, and it takes work. This takes work,
yes.
but the benefits are huge if you're willing to put the effort in, and I think that's the key thing to remember. We're going to keep Iaia, but we're going to be back after a clip of last time Iaia was on the show.
We can definitely use the visualization that we just practiced. It is 3 minutes, 4 minutes of visualization that definitely allow you to feel good emotion. So in that case, just apply it and do it 5 minutes per day, and it will be useful to create more, build your confidence and feel good emotion at least 5 minutes a day. That is always a good point.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters, where we're having a really, really interesting conversation with Iaia about brain training.
Therapy session, isn't it?
Yes. It's brilliant because there's so much that we as non-athletes can take from this as well. So, really enjoying this discussion. How can you get somebody to change their internal critics? So the one that says, oh, you always mess things up, you can't do anything right, etc.
A bit before the overwhelm, isn't it? So we've now got the pathway, we've got the choice, and then we've got the bit that causes the defensiveness in the first place.
Yes, it definitely comes alongside the overwhelm, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the first thing that I would like to say is the inner criticism is not our enemy. So it actually starts because our brain wants to protect us from fear, from failure, or being exposed. So it starts as a defensive mode.
Oh, that's interesting.
But at the same time, I can understand that building the path that is negative, as I always mess things up, or I'm not good enough, then it becomes something that it works against you, because it's a voice that you hear all the time in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's something that, good news, we can train. Bad news, it requires effort, as you said before, and a lot of training. Because if you think about maybe repeating in your mind for like 20 years, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up, you cannot just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm amazing, I'm the best. It works with repetition. You can start building new pathway, new belief like that, but it's not a magic trick. It is a training, and it requires a certain effort based on the old pattern that you have. So for everyone is different. Also depends on the age. So maybe the train youngest brain is easy sometimes because they have less years behind them. So they build something positive or negative, but in a shorter time. So as soon as we start with this thing, with brain training, better is for your future.
And I think with that, it's good to recognise that you're training your brain from a very young age. In other words, your parents are potentially training your brain. So a lot of this, when you're talking about the defensive pattern, you're going to mess it up, you're not good enough, that's not necessarily your voice. But if someone has constantly said that to you, it's become your defense, your safety mechanism to not try. Because actually, it means you won't get the criticism from the people who are your caregivers if you don't bother trying, because they've told you that the whole time. And so if we then understand that as adults we are training brains, or as people in any interaction we are potentially training brains, either training them to think in a certain way or training them to think out of a certain way, I think suddenly we realise, oh my gosh, there's a huge responsibility in being a human being and seeing other human beings.
That's very true.
Parents, teachers, they have a great responsibility, because young people, they wire their brain based on what they listen around them. So it is a huge responsibility, and I would like also to bring more awareness on that, because if you are the first one that you do it on yourself, then you can also like teach to your like children, or your if you are a teacher or if you are a professor, you can transmit that informations. So it's a very important thing to do.
I think that it's a shame that the government haven't consulted you over whether to stop social media and smartphones for young children, because they're kind of being very woolly about that. And if they could just hear what you just said, that what people take in at such a young age are creating these pathways, and I just think it's so important. People don't give it enough credit, you know. So it just makes you think that words have an impact and actions have an impact, and people in that kind of position need to be really aware of that. So so important.
And that inner voice, I always say to my athletes, is the only one that you hear all the time, and it speaks with you 1,000 times per day, right? So it needs to become your first fan. I like to say it needs to be on your side. It needs to be not just positive, like not a cheerleader, do something, but someone that have trust in your ability and can just work and play with you.
Yeah, it's a good way of thinking about it. What do you think anyone listening could do? What's one mental habit that we could all do that would upgrade us if we practiced it?
So if I have to choose one, setting an intention at the beginning of your day.
Okay.
It's one of the exercise that I use for a long time in my morning routine. So when I used to apply my strategy, and it's not about goals, it's not about task, productivity hack.
Okay.
When I say intention, I mean the quality that you want to bring to that day. So if you think about the goals that you have, the person that you want to become, the athletes that you want to become, what is something that you can focus on today in order to do a little step closer to that goals?
I love that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it's useful because during the day everything can happen, and we cannot control all the things, strike, delay. But if we have an intention that is good for us to get closer to the things that we want, you have always something to remember and to refocus on every time that something negative happens.
Yes.
And it's useful to have a good quality of life. In my journey, it was very, very useful for building my career and my journey.
What sort of intentions might one set, actually? Because I think when we talk about setting intentions, what some people say is, I don't know, today I'm going to be a go-getter. Yeah, I don't know, they're a bit, they're not speaking to values, perhaps. They're just a bit more, today I'm going to smile at everyone.
Yeah. What came to my mind was patience. I need to be a bit more patient.
But that's a value.
Yeah.
So that's
quite
is
good,
that is that not the kind of thing that you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing that you can do to choose the good intention is ask yourself, okay, what do I need to achieve the goals that I have, that dream, the standard, that level. I need to be more passionate.
Yes.
Okay. I want to focus. I want to be more passionate today, or I want to feel grateful. That was mine, for example. I want to feel grateful for what I have every day, thinking about that things, even if negative things happen. My focus was always, okay, let me be grateful for what I have. And that is an intention. It depends, as I said, on the goal that you have and what you want to focus on.
That's beautiful. It's about that value. It's about something a little bit more personal rather than practical, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. Because that makes sense.
So when it comes to high performance, whether we're talking leaders, whether we're talking athletes, or just people in general who are winning at life, do you think it's a natural talent? Because I know all of us are born differently. Is it skill? Because we've been brought up differently. Is it brain training because we've understood that we're not using all the different parts of our brain, or is it strategy? It's just some people are just really good at playing the game. They've got it.
Okay, for me, talent is the entry ticket. Okay? So understanding whether if you can do that things or not.
Yes.
There are athletes, there are people that have a talent for something specifically, but after that, so when we start to thinking about the high level, talent is not enough. Talent is just at the beginning. Then it's about training physically, so in terms of in sport wise, physically and mentally, but also if you think about as a professional, learning skills, learning new hack or something that are useful in your job, in your career. If you ask me if we put on the same level, so same physical level, the things that will always change and create a winners between the both for me is your mind, and it can also fill a gap that there is between some athletes, and maybe they are not at the same level physically, but your mind can really become the edge in your performance.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because you do need, and I know it sounds harsh, but I think raw talent is part of that. Because with the best will in the world, if you can't catch a ball, for example, or you're really you can learn, but you'll never be as good as the person who just does it naturally. So we need to be honest about that.
It requires definitely more effort. I believe that it's something that you can, if you really, really work out, you can do it.
Of course.
But it is different. It requires more effort physically and mentally.
Yes. And then if you've got somebody else who's naturally good at it, also putting the same amount of effort, they are going to still be better. It's difficult. Iaia, this is such a great conversation. We are keeping you, but where can we learn more about you, follow you, and so on?
Yes, on Instagram as Iaia Brain Coach, and on my website brainperformancecoaching.com.
Brilliant. And now we're keeping Iaia for Test the Trend. Well, today's Test the Trend, we're handing it over to Iaia Colella, who is a brain coach. So take it away.
So talking about all of these exercises, I think that something very useful for everyone, athletes, professional, everyone, is a quick brief exercise that we can learn, we can do together if you want.
Yes, please.
So it's basically something that helps to calm down your nervous system. So we talk about this nervous system that is connect the brain with our body, And we have two different systems, the parasympathetic system and the sympathetic system. So with this exercise, what we want is try to balance these. This is a system that when pressure hits, they are not on the same level. So what we want is try to rebalance it. So it's inhaling from your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, and then exhale for 6 seconds. So
okay, through the mouth or through the nose?
Through the nose, the nose inhale for 4 seconds, we can do together, and then exhale for 6 from your mouth. Okay, what we can do. We can try it together. So inhaling from 1, hold, and then exhale. And repeat from your nose. Hold and exhale. And every time that you exhale, you try to release all the tension from your body, from your muscles. And inhaling, we are basically activating your sympathetic system. And when you exhale with this longer exhale, we want to feel safe and calm and relax our body. And even just 1 minute of this exercise every day is useful if you want to just settle down a little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
I can instantly feel myself coming down and grounded a bit more. Yeah, it's lovely. It's so simple as well.
And yes, and cheap. You know, you can do it right there. You can do it in the moment as well, which is absolutely brilliant. Give that a go and let us know in the comments how you got on. I always like the last bit of the show because we get to reflect on everything that our amazing guests have said, and there were a few things, Iaia, today where I know I've sort of made a bit of a shift in my thinking, and I like that. Your metaphors that you're using have been really helpful because we talk about training our brain, but what do we really mean by what's actually going on in there?
Yeah.
And to be able to break it down in that way. And I love the point you made, especially about the prefrontal cortex. The minute you're getting so much information and there's loads of cortisol going on in there, your stage has already become absolutely packed. And that's right, because when you think about it, when you're stressed, you can only see one tiny thing.
Yeah.
And so, that's really helped. Your metaphors have really brought brain training to life, I think. That's me.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I love your analogy of the field. I just transferred that to my garden because we literally do have that path through the grass where the dogs just go up and down the middle like that. And I'm thinking, no, I need to walk to the side of that path and in my head. So that's really good. And then when you talked about procrastination as well, that's something that I do. And and it's silly because I'm not lazy, but somebody might think that because it takes me ages to actually get going, but I don't want to do it wrong, so I'd rather not do it at all. It's that kind of a thing.
And it's not procrastination you'd need to work on, but the inner voice of the I don't want to do it, so I get it wrong. It's taking it to the right
emotion behind.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So what you were saying about you just have to do it for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, so because that takes away the threat, I guess, or so I'm going to try that. So that was really something that was really resonated. So thank you.
Linked to that was the point about how it's really hard if you've made it part of your identity.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting because I think somebody who smokes, actually, they don't celebrate calling themselves a smoker, but they do call themselves a smoker.
My mum used to, my dad.
I find that so interesting. So we can be calling ourselves things that we're not proud of, actually, but just the very act of calling ourselves it means it's harder to change. That's amazing. It really has been a pleasure chatting with you, as always. Yeah. It's always so interesting to really get into the brain.
Oh, I love it. You have to come back.
You know, absolutely. And well, from all of us here at Mental Health Matters, have a healthy week.